What is up, Chocolatiers? Welcome back to another video. It seems like even though you have a big movie coming out every week now, starting this week, there's always something to watch, okay? So Michael came out this week. I got to see it early access Wednesday. There is a review up on the channel. But I was looking this weekend, there's still like 4+ movies coming out. And Netflix was like, hey, let's drop Apex, a new film starring Charlize Theron and Taron Egerton. Now this movie, I'm just going to go and get it out of the way. Very cliche. Is that good or bad? Let's find out together. So, always start out with the plot, then I go into the positives and the negatives. So let's go in and get it. Let's go till my final score. So the plot of this film is that basically that game that just came out, Karen, that I really love, where you're like a rock climber. That's what Charlize Theron does. She's just climbing, she's taping her fingers, whatever, and she's with her significant other. I actually, right now, I'm off a review right now. I can't remember if they were married or just going together. Doesn't matter. That's her man. They are climbing, and they're climbing down or whatever from like this huge like mountain. And basically, of course, what you assume happens, he ends up dying. A rock hits him, he falls down, necks snap. It's like a horror film, and he's dead. And he's pulling her down the dead weight, and so she has to make that choice. She has to cut him loose. Cuts that dead body, it starts flinging down. We don't know where he's at, he's dead. Cut to, I believe it's 5 months later, or actually I may be wrong that time. I'm pretty sure it's 5 months later. Anyways, 5 months later, here we are. She is grieving. She has just, like I said, witnessed the loss of her significant other. And she's out here in Australia in the wilderness with those huge spiders I heard they have. That's scary. And she is going out here basically just to kind of like relax, whine, whatever. Like, this is what she does. She's an adventurer, so she's not going to stop even though somebody died. And she is out here. She runs into Taron Egerton's character, who you find out within the first 10 minutes of the film is a serial killer, and he hunts people for sport, aka like an apex predator. And he does so to her after about the first 20-so minutes of this film, and the rest of the runtime consists of a chase sequence, basically. He's chasing her, she's running away from him, while also trying to get to safety, / kill him, blah, whatever, like just basically defense, okay? Very much like a old school film like a Predator, or like I think Netflix released a couple years ago where that, I can't remember the name of the movie, but where that girl got drugged or whatever, she's like with a serial killer. You see this all the time. This is nothing new. That's why I say very cliche. So what I think this movie does right, let's get into the positives. We'll skip Charlize Theron, same in every movie. Let's talk about my boy Taron Egerton. Taron Egerton tears it apart. This man, I feel like, should be a household name by now. I know the Kingsman franchise kind of let him down a little bit. I personally don't hate the second one like most people. I really do love the first one, which I feel like most people do. And I know they're rounding out, hopefully, with that third one soon. But even from something like the Elton John biopic and like all these other things he's done. He was in that Netflix film last year where he was like that TSA guy. I thought that was decent. And he just is really good. And there's an Apple TV show that he played in last year. Blanking on the name of that as well, but he is basically like the villain in that show. And when I watched that show, I sat there and thought, man, with this show's faults aside, he is a really great villain, and I've never seen him in a role like that before. And he gets to do it again here, except he's a little bit more menacing than he was in that show. And man, what star power. I love seeing him in everything. He gets to actually do his accent in this film, and so it's nice. He doesn't do no fake American accent, whatever this and that. He is also, I love Taron Egerton so much. Die on the hill of supporting him. I feel like not enough people talk about him, so I just want to go and give him his flowers. He's amazing in this film. He's terrifying. He does what he needs to do. He's also very ruthless while also kind of having like this weird sense of humor. And I just think he does what he needs to do. Now let's talk about Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron is a badass in this film. She does really good. She made up from The Old Guard 2, which was an awful piece of dog crap from last year that I really hated. She made up for it a little bit in this film. She's cool. She's capable. She's able to do stuff. It's also, like I said, this nice cat and mouse game where it's like, you know, she doesn't really have much as far as like weapons and stuff like that to defend against him. At one point she has like pepper spray and stuff like that, but that's pretty much it. You know, she doesn't really have a whole lot of stuff as far as survival stuff goes. And I really do like this plot of like, hey, I'm overcoming this grief, but as you know, the rules of nature follow, doesn't really care about your grief. There's going to be another predator still coming up here. It doesn't care if your mama just got ate by a gazelle, right? And very metaphorically speaking in this film, that's what happens here. Like, she's literally getting attacked by somebody after going through grief and loss just prior in this film. And so I really, really enjoyed stuff like that. I think that worked out for the best benefit of this. I also really like the action scenes, the climbing scenes, the chase scene. I thought that stuff was really, really well done. And that's kind of it on the positive side of things. Now onto the negative, which I really hate to say, I feel like is more than the positive. So let's go and throw this out here. Now, this is a streaming film. I say this sound like a dead horse at this point, like I'm beating a dead horse, but basically, this is a streaming film, so I'm not ever going to grade a streaming film like I would a real film that's in theaters. Now, a lot of people get mad when I say that, but I didn't use gas. Okay, didn't drive down there. There is no large popcorn combo for my big ass. Okay, there's a lot of factors that I don't have to do when it's. I literally got off work, sitting down on the couch. Okay, watching this, and so with that, I don't grade them as harshly. I'm still going to be honest though and tell you all of these negatives. And so, anyways, I think number one, I think the conflict with these two characters doesn't fully work for me. I understand he's a serial killer, whatever this and that, but there's so much that Charlize Theron's character does for me that pisses me off. Now, I was going to say something. We'll put a pin in that. We might get down there later on the road. Probably won't say what I'm going to say, but it's just stupid. Her character does some stupid things. Number one, for example, like I said, going out here in the wilderness by herself, whatever this is, very dumb. Earlier on in the film, she has some run-ins with some hunters that are pricks, and she even like sleeps out in a van because she can't really leave, like because like they're pulled in the same area. And at that point in the film, like, okay, by the next day, like when they're gone, she'll probably leave. No, she still does not leave. And I'm not saying that you should, like, even as a male, I'm not going outside at night. Okay, I'm a scaredy cat anyways. But I will say this, okay? If that happened, I'm a little bit paranoid, I'm by myself, I'm gone the next morning. Okay, I get it, you can't leave that night. I understand. Leave. So much of this film, I just kind of go, this is Charlize's fault. There's so many times where she's talking to characters or, for example, Taron Egerton's character, where I'm like, okay, this dude's odd. Maybe we should not. And she's like, oh, okay. No! Stop. Finally, once, like I said, the chase happens, I really think she's really good in that. Like I said, I think they're both good in that. But it's something with the characters, and I don't know if it's because I don't care about them enough, because it pretty much starts, like I said, you only get that death with her. You don't really get a whole lot from her as a character, and you don't really know much about him at all, except for like one detail they give you like in the middle. But outside of that, it's just kind of a chase with basically two random people. And so I think the intenseness, which I did give in the positives, I think the intenseness really helps this film shine. But for me, I think it's also a lack of like CGI problems. Like there's like a lot of cliff falls and we're falling to water and it just looks really bad. Which is funny because going back to a film a couple months ago that I reviewed, War Machine with Alan Richardson, they did some similar things like that, but it looked good. So I'm assuming bigger budget for that. There were big robots and stuff, but it's still like we couldn't, maybe tweak that a little bit. But outside of that, though, the film, I just feel like for me was just kind of boring, which is weird to say because like, oh, she's being hunted or whatever. But like, there's so many, like, it feels. I guess it's an hour because basically this is what I boiled it down to. The film is like an hour and a half, but it's really an hour and 22 minutes or an hour and 15 or so. Because that's like when fully everything starts. And once everything boils down to a head and we get the chases, we get this and that, whatever, you're not getting a whole lot else. So it's not like you're getting flashbacks of a past. It's not like you're getting all these other key details, whatever this and that. And then once the film gets into the third act, which is basically a really pivotal scene between these two characters, at that point I was just kind of like, well, I know what's going to happen, and it's exactly what happens. I feel like our final conflict with these two characters was really lackluster. And I'm not saying I wanted more. I will give it this. It's kind of realistic. So if you're into that, that's cool. But I'm watching a film and I don't know. It could just be me. I feel like I'm kind of just like nitpicking this nitpick. But and I get it's like, okay, it's these two characters he's chasing or whatever. But there's just so many times too, because his character thinks it's a game. For example, this, I'll just go on lightly spoil this. He thinks it's a game. There's so many times he has her dead to rights, and he's like, well, actually. And I get it. I get it. Okay, it's a game. You're sick and twisted. But there's so many times I was like, how many times he's like, I'm just gonna let her go because the plot, and then like, oh, she got me, and he's gonna do it again. And it's just so many times when it happened, where I'm just like, okay, Charlize would have died here, like realistically. And it's just, I don't know, whatever. But I do think, even though I think that the second and third act kind of let me down a lot, like as far as the chase and stuff, I think there's a lot of boring things. For the most part, he carries a crossbow. He's reloading this thing within milliseconds. He's just rapidly shooting this thing. And they show him reload it like one time, and he's like, ding, ding. I was like, that quick, brother? He's Daryl Dixon. He's just like fully just like, it's just an automatic crossbow at this point. He's just over here shooting her precisely. But like I said, I think that the story does, I will give it that. I think it does wrap up nicely for the most part. I think that it does what it needs to do as far as telling this story of grief. I just feel like we should have got more into the psyche of both characters. And I also feel like the third act, I feel like should have paid off a lot more. I'll just leave the second act alone because I feel like I'm not fully confident in what I was fully saying about the second act. I don't love it, but at the same time, I don't really know what else you could have done. But the third act, I think, was weak. I do think the third act was weak. I feel like that's most Netflix movies. They're like a Stephen King book. I love Stephen King. Don't know how to end that story worth a damn. It just kind of ends. It kind of goes off. It's whatever. But like I said, I don't think what we were building to was like a really great payoff. And so, yeah, with that, I will say this. I think it's a fine movie. I didn't watch that Thrash movie. I have yet to watch a really bad movie on streaming services this year. Balls Up was close, but I actually enjoyed that stupid fish scene for some reason. And I was like, I laughed enough, I bumped it up a point from where it would have probably been a negative score. But I feel like with this, I feel like I would give this a 6 out of 10. I think it's just kind of like a little bit above average because I think performance-wise, Taron Egerton is tearing it up. And if it was anybody else, I don't think it would be that good. But if it wasn't for him, this could easily be a 5. So I'm just letting you know that right now. If you're going to sit down and watch this, you might want to choose something else. But if you're a big fan of him like I am, you'll probably like it. With that, comment down below, let me know your thoughts on this film. Like, subscribe for more. And before I let you guys go, I just want to thank my Patreon producers for supporting the channel. And if you want to do the same as well, there will be a link down in the description below. Hit that link or hit that YouTube join button and become a chocolatier, a caramel chocolatier at that. And you'll get movie vlogs, you'll get extra videos, early uploads, game reviews, stuff like that. And it really helps out the channel. But like I said, if you can't, like, subscribe, it's free, helps out the algorithm. And with that, I'll catch you guys on the next one.